to achieve that medicinal effect is a dose. Are we clear? The term dose can be further qualified as a single dose, a daily dose, a daily divided dose, a weekly dose. We'll see some examples below. A single dose, for example, for self-administration in and for treatment of acute anaphylaxis. That is according to the British National Formula. Recommended dose for adrenaline is 300 micrograms. That is a single dose of 300 micrograms. That is a single dose. Now, a daily dose, for example, according to the same British National Formula, formulary, recommended for dose of atorvastatin is 10 milligram twice, 10 milligram once daily. That is a daily dose. Daily divided dose is the recommended initial dose for sodium valproate is 600 milligram daily in 1 or 2 divided doses. That is, those can be given as a single 600 milligram dose, or the 600 milligram is divided into 2 doses of 300 milligram each. Now we're looking at a divided dose. If the dose is 600 milligram and you're saying it can be given once or twice, it means that if it is once, you give the 600 dose, you give the 600 milligram. If it is twice, you divide the 600 milligram into 2 and give 300 milligram each. That is the daily dose. Then the weekly dose will definitely be the quantity that you can take for 1 week, right? Like maybe at times in some antibiotic cases, it's okay, you take for 5 days or you take for 7 days. That will be a weekly dose. Are we together? But in all of this, let's get the basic line. That quantity of drug, that quantity amount of drug that is being given or that is administered to a patient to achieve a therapeutic dose, to achieve a medicinal dose, right, is to achieve a therapeutic outcome, is the dose. Are we together? If you're given 6 tablets of paracetamol to be taken in 1 day, in order to achieve the reduction of either headache or fever, that 6 tablets is the dose, right? Now, it can be taken as a single dose or in a divided dose. If the prescription says 6 tablets should be taken at once, that's a single dose. If the prescription says this 6 tablets should be taken 2 times daily, you divide it into 2. If it says should be taken 3 times, you divide it into 3. Are we clear? But I just need us to understand what a dose is in a precise form, in the simplest form of it. Let's proceed. Now, what is dose regimen? A dose may be repeated regularly, either throughout the day or following some other time period. Such scheduling of doses is called the dose regimen. Are we following the narration? If a dose is repeated regularly throughout the day, maybe 3 times a day, 4 times a day, or following some other time period, take twice daily, 3 times in a week. Now, irrespective of the fact that you're taking twice daily, but you don't take it continuously on a regular basis, you might need to give like a day gap and take it 3 times in a week. Now, when you look at such information, you're not looking at what the dose regimen. Example of different dosage regimen are in the treatment of wipeworm. Now, recall the BNF We've seen that before, British National Formulary, right? So anywhere we see the BNF, we just know that referring to the British National Formulary. Recommended dosage for bemendazole is 100 milligram twice daily for 3 days. Now, 100 milligrams twice daily for 3 days. That is the dose of 100 milligram of bemendazole. And the dosage regimen is twice daily for 3 days. So that will be how many? 100 milligrams twice daily for 3 days. That will be 100 milligrams twice daily is 2. That is 2 of it times 3. Will give us the complete dose regimen. Take another example. Erythromycin has a dosage regimen of 250 to 500 milligrams to be taken orally every 6 hours. 250 to 500 milligrams to be taken orally every 6 hours. I see the regimen now. Now, assuming you're supposed to take it for 3 days, 6 hourly in 24 hours is 4 times. So that will be 4 times 3 days of that particular quantity, either 200 milligram or 500 milligram, just between that range. Another example, clarithromycin has a dosage regimen of 250 milligram every 12 hours for 7 days. So this one now, you just notice that because it's 12 hours, every 12 hours. So in 24 hours, which is 1 day, you have taken 2 times. For 7 days, that will be 2 times 7. We give you the complete dose regimen. Thus, doses and dosage regimen vary with the drug and the dosage / illness or symptoms that the drug is intended to treat. The dose and dosage regimen of a drug can be found in official publications, such as the British National Formulary, and in manufacturers' literature. When we buy drugs, you open the pack, you see a leaflet inside. When you go through it, you definitely see the dose and the dosage regimen. You definitely see, okay, this drug, maybe according to age, according to weight, should be taken 2 tablets morning, 2 evening, 2 nights, right? So when you see those informations, you simply know that that is what the dosage regimen. Let's proceed. Formulation. In addition, a drug may be presented in more than one formulation and in more than one strength. For example, the drug amoxicillin is available in the following formulations, right? Amoxicillin is an antibiotic. So we have it in capsules of 250 milligram and 500 milligram. We also have it in caps in suspension. Suspension is liquid of 125 milligram per 1.25 milliliter, or 125 milligram per 5 milliliter, or 250 milligram per 5 milliliter. We also have it in sachet of 3 grams per sachet. We also have it injection, powder for reconstitution, 250 milligram, 500 milligram, or 1 gram. A prescription stating the dose as 250 amoxicillin could mean that this prescriber wants capsule, suspension, or injection. Why is that so? Because the form in which this drug comes has the capsule of it has 250 milligram. Suspension has 250 milligram. Injection also has 250 milligram. So it means that whoever is prescribing it has to be very specific. But if the person is not specific, what happens? In such a situation, the pharmacist will need to make a judgment or query the prescriber's intention. So when we say formulation, we're referring to the form in which the drugs are prepared, or in which we receive the drug. So it can either be in capsule, in suspension, in sachets, in injection, or even in form of suppositories, right? Aerosols, there are a lot of them, a lot of forms. But let's proceed. Dosage based on units of formulation. Dosage based on unit of formulation. Now, let's look at the solid formulations. Examples of units of solid formulations. Examples of units of solid dosage forms are tablets, right? I told us that drugs can come in different forms, but the solid formulations can come in tablets, capsules, sachets, and suppositories. Now, when we say suppositories, we mean drugs that can be taken through the anus, right? There are some insertions that are given through the anus. Those insertions will refer to them as well as suppositories. So that is also a form in which drugs can come. Now, the doses of such pharmaceutical products may be expressed as one or more units. Such doses may form part of a dose regimen, e.g., 2 tablets at night for 3 days. So do we understand what that means now? If you say 2 tablets at night for 3 days, that would mean how many tablets in that 3 days? That would mean 6 tablets. Because you're taking 2 first day, 2 second day, 2 third day. So that will be 2 times 3, will be 6 tablets for that particular dose regimen. Some solid formulations may contain 1 or more active ingredients. E.g., Rufasa tablet contains rivampicin, isoniazid, and pyranimide. Now, you see a situation where you have a particular tablet, you have a particular formulation, but it has more than 1 active ingredient inside. Now, in this particular case, the dose is normally expressed as unit of the dosage form. How do we mean? The dosage will not be expressed as per the active ingredients contained, but the dosage will be expressed as per units of that particular drug, of that dosage form. E.g., 6 tablets daily. Common examples of a number of active drugs in one dosage unit are the compound analgesics and compound antibiotics, right? Analgesics are drugs that are normally used to relieve pain. Then antibiotics are the ones that are used to manage most of the bacterial infections. So you can see some examples listed already. Cocodaprine. This one contains aspirin and codeine phosphates. So you see that that particular drug now has aspirin and codeine phosphates as active ingredients. Then the other one, cocodamol, has codeine phosphates and paracetamol as the active ingredients. Codidramol has paracetamol and the hydrocodone tartrates as the active ingredients. Co-amoxicillin has amoxicillin and clovanic acid as the active ingredient. We have fluampicil has flucloxacillin and ampicillin as the active ingredients. The calculations involving such unit doses are relatively simple and are normally concerned with calculating a total number of dose units for a specified treatment period. Now, irrespective of the active ingredients that is inside the drug already, the calculation will involve calculating the total units for a specified period of time. Let's proceed. Let's look at an example. Let's look at an example then. Now, look at this example. Calculate the total number of tablets to be dispensed if a prescription requires 2 tablets of drug S 3 times a day for 7 days, calculate the total number of tablets to be dispensed if a prescription requires 2 tablets of drug X 3 times a day for 7 days. Right? So that is simple. Number of tablets per day is what? Now, remember, you said I require 2 tablets of the drug S to be taken 3 times daily. So the number of tablets you take per day will be what? 2 times of the two tablets of the drug times 3 times daily will be what was 6. Now these 6 tablets is the number to be taken per day, right? Now, because it will be taken for 7 days, so number of tablets for 7 days will be the 6 tablets times 7, which will equal to what? 42. So the total number of tablets to be taken for that dosage regimen will be 42 tablets that the pharmacist will need to dispense. Are we together? Remember, we're looking at dose calculation. We're looking at what? Dose calculation. So in this particular instance now, the dose regimen for this particular drug tablet now is 42 tablets. That is what will be dispensed. Are we together? Now, if you have any question at any point, please, you just unmute yourself and ask so that we'll look at it. If you cannot, you just write it down. Probably at the end, we'll take some 5-10 minutes to attend to those questions. Now, let's proceed. Now, let's look at some common abbreviations. You remember the example that I just looked at now said the number of tablets that will be dispensed if X drugs will be taken 2 tablets 3 times daily for 7 days, right? Now, but let's look at some common abbreviations that you meet going forward. And at times when prescriptions are done, those abbreviations are actually included. And if you're not conversant with them, become an issue. Now, some prescribers specify the number of days of treatment by using abbreviations, for example. Now, when we're talking of days may be expressed as a fraction of a week. So how many days do we have in a week? We have 7 days in a week. So 3 days will be represented as what? 3/7. That is 3 days over 7. 3 days in a week will simply be written as what? 3/7. And 5 days in a week will be written as 5/7. Just make sure you understand that denominator there, 7. That 7 represents a week. So the numerator up will simply represent the number of days that drug will be taken per 7 days, which is in a week. Now, weeks may be represented as a fraction of the number of weeks in a year. So 2 weeks will be written as 2/52, and 6 weeks will be written as 6/52. Now, in this instance, now we're referring to if we're saying, okay, we want you to take these drugs for 2 weeks. Now, the 52 in that formula represent the 52 weeks in a year. So if we say 2/52, it simply means 2 weeks out of the 52 weeks in a year. So the 2 weeks will be what? 14 days. If we're saying you have to take it for 6 weeks, it will be written as 6/52. So the 6 weeks will be what? 6 times 7, which is 35 days over the 52 weeks in a year. Now, pay attention to the denominator. That denominator there, 52, simply tells you they are referring to what? Weeks. And that 52 is actually the number of weeks in a calendar year. Now, months may be represented as a fraction of the number of months in a year. So 6 months will be written as what? 6/12. And 9 months will be written as what? 9/12. Now, it still follows the same logic, right? There are 12 months in a year. So if we say 9 months over 9/12, you just quickly know that we're referring to what? 9 weeks out of, no, we're referring to 9 months out of the 12 months in a year. So you now take your time to work out the number of tablets that will be in 9 months out of the 12 months in a year. Now, in the UK, 1 month is usually represented as 28 days. But basically, that is also what we have here. 4 weeks is 1 month. So a week is 7 days. So 7 times 4 is equal to what? 28. So normally you have 28 days representing what? 4 weeks when you're making your calculations. So we'll have that one clear. So I think we should start paying attention, memorizing some of these small abbreviations, right? If you see 4/7, or simply referring to what? 4 days in a week. If you see 5/52, we're simply referring to what? 5 weeks. 5 weeks in a year, right? Because the 52 that represent the 52 weeks of the year. If you see 10/12, 10/12 simply represents 10 months out of the 12 months in a year. Are we together? Then the rule of thumb, just bear in mind that the month is equal to what? 28 days. The month is what? Equal to 28 days, because you have 4 weeks in a month. And a week is equal to what? 7 days. So if you multiply 7 by 4, you have 28. So let's look at more example. Let's look at more example. A prescription requires 2 suppositories of drug Y daily for 3/7. A prescription requires 2 suppositories of drugs Y daily for 3/7. So in this instance now, what are we looking at? In this instance, you should just know that we're looking at what? That 7 there tells you that we're looking at week. So it will be taken 3 times out of the 7 days, 3 days out of the 7 days in a week. How many suppositories should be supplied? Now, number of suppositories per day is what? A prescription requires 2 suppositories of drug Y daily for 3 days. 2 of the suppositories of the drug Y daily. So number of suppositories per day is what? 2. Are we together? So 3/7 is the abbreviation for what? For 3 days. Total number of suppositories for 3 days is what? It's simply 2 times 3, which is equal to what? 6. So for the 3 days, 6 suppositories should be supplied. Is that clear enough? Now the trick is recognize that 3/7 means 3 days out of 7 days. It means you have to be taking 3 days in a week. So assuming you're supposed to take 2 suppositories for 3 days, how many suppositories will be dispensed? will be dispensed, what will be supplied. It simply means that you now do two of the suppositories per day times 3 days, which will give you 6. Remember, we said that suppositories is the form of withdrawal, originally through the anal route. Are we together on that? So let's proceed. Now, these examples are basic, very basic ones. As we proceed, we'll definitely look at some more complex examples. Now, I want to look at the oral liquid formulation. Let's look at the oral liquid formulation. Now, the normal unit of measurement for oral liquid medicine. Sorry, please. Okay. Oral liquid formulation. The normal unit of measurement for oral liquid medicine is the 5 milliliter spoon or multiples thereof. Some medicinal products have a dose or dose range larger than 5 ml. For example, magnesium trisulfate mixtures has a dose range of 10 to 20 ml 3 times a day. Such a dose range will need to be converted into units of 5 ml, i.e. 2 to 4 5 ml spoonfuls 3 times a day. Now, with doses of oral liquid medicine, it is important not to confuse 5 milliliter dose with the total volume of medicine to be supplied. Now, what we're saying here is basic. Now, when you have formulations, when you have oral formulations, now, depending in the form the drugs appear, in this instance, is in liquid form, right? You should note the units. You should note the units of measurement. We have the milliliter, we have the liter, and other units of measurement. So what we're saying is that don't confuse the 5 milliliter dose with the total volume of medicine that is to be supplied. If they say the dose is 5 milliliter, pay attention to the dose, to the prescription, so that with that you can be properly guided. The example that we're looking at in this particular case now, the magnesium trisulfate mixture has a dose range of 10 to 20 milliliter 3 times a day. So if that is the dose I'll be taking 3 times a day, you will need to know your measurement properly. You will need to know your conversions properly so that you can calculate the total dose I'll be taking per day and the dose that is required to be dispensed for that particular treatment regimen. Let's take an example. A prescription. Let's take an example. Next slide. Next slide, yes. A prescription requires a patient to receive a quantity of indigestion mixture with a dosage regimen of 15 ml 4 times a day for 5 days. How many 5 ml spoonful of the mixture will the patient require to take for each dose? Calculate the number of doses and the total volume that should be supplied to the patient. Now, remember that when we did introduction to pharmaceutical measurements, we did mention some measurement systems. We mentioned the metric system of measurement, if you remember. We mentioned the household or the common system of measurement. We mentioned the avoidable system, and we mentioned the apothecary system. Now, this system have different units of measurements. Like if you watch well now, you're seeing spoonful, 1 spoonful, teaspoonful. Those are belong to the common household measurement. But also remember that these different units of measurement have standard conversions that can enable us to convert from one unit to the other. Now we're lucky in this instance now that the spoonful now we are given here have been equated already to 5 ml spoonful. So related. So knowledge from one course can be applied to another. Knowledge from one area can be applied to another. That is the only way we can build and maximize knowledge. Now, from the example above now, the patient is prescribed 15 ml as the dose and will need to take 3 5 ml spoonful for each dose. Do you understand the argument? Now, the patient is prescribed 15 ml, right, as the dose. And we need to take 3 5 ml spoonful for each dose. And from the question, they were saying that the patient will take that for how many times in a day? Okay, you say a prescription requires a patient to receive a quantity of individual mixture with a dosage regimen of 15 ml 4 times daily, right? For 5 days. How many 5 ml spoonful of the mixture will the patient require to take for each dose? Now, for each dose now, the patient will need to take total number of doses for 5 days is what? 4 times 5 is equal to 20. That is 20 ml. Total volume to be supplied to the number of doses multiplied by dose volume. No. Let's get it clear. Let's get it clear. The patient is prescribed 15 ml as the dose, right? And we need to take 3 5 ml spoonfuls for each dose. Total number of doses for 5 days, because the patient is taking it 4 times per day. So the 5 spoonful, which is 5, times 4 times it will be taken, will be what? 20 ml. So the 20 ml is what will be taken per day, right? Now, total volume to be supplied to is the number of doses multiplied by dose volume. The dose volume is 15 ml. So the total number of volume to be taken per day is 20 times the dose ml, which is 15, and that will give us what? 300 ml. So the pharmacist dispense 300 ml, which is a total of 20 doses. Because because the patient now will be taking 20 doses because the patient is at doses. Another example, more clarity, will shed more light and more clarity will come in. So let's see another example. The next example. In some situations, it may be necessary to calculate the length of time taken to use up the total volume of medicine supplied. In some situations, it may be necessary to calculate the length of time taken to use up the total volume of medicine supplied. Now, let's look at this example now. A patient buys a 100 ml bottle of antihistamine mixture to take on holiday. The dosage regimen is 2 5 ml spoonfuls 4 times a day. The patient asks, if I take the mixture according to the instructions, for how many days will the mixture last? Remember now, the patients have bought 100 ml of antihistamine mixture to be taken on holiday. The dosage regimen is 2 5 ml spoonful 4 times a day. Right? So just get it straight. The 5 ml now is taking 2 of it for 4 times a day. So 5 times 2 is 10 ml for 4 times a day. Do you understand? So the patient is now asking, if you take according to this practitioner, how many days will this mixture last? So if you just take your time and look at it, even common knowledge, you just raising it up. Now the dosage mean is 2 5 ml spoonful, that is 10 ml. Do you get it now? 4 times a day. Therefore, the total volume used per day is what? 40 ml. Are we together? The total volume of mixture supplied to the patient is 100 ml. Therefore, the number of days the mixture will last for is what? 2.5 days. Right? The patient required to take 2 5 ml spoonfuls, which is 10 ml. 4 times per day. So it means that this patient will take 4 times 10 meal times 4. That is 40 meal per day. But remember, the total volume is 100 mil. So if you are taking 40 mil first day, 40 mil second day, it means that the remaining 20 mil is half day. Are we together? So the mixture, let's look for 10 mil 4 times a day. That will be 40 mil per day. So this question is asking, measuring an apple using a 5 mil spoon will be difficult. Such doses of less than 5 mil may be given using a 5 mil oral syringe. The 5 mil oral syringe is calibrated into 0.5 mil divisions from 1 mil to 5 mil. Thus, it is possible to deliver volumes between 1 to 5 mil using an oral syringe. The volume delivered by an oral syringe are usually used for children or very frail adults. Example, a very young child is prescribed 2.0 mil of an analgesic suspension 3 times a day for 4 days in a week. That is 4/7. How many milliliters of suspension would the pharmacist dispense? Now, just follow the logic. 2 mils of the suspension to be taken 3 times a day, which means 2 mils times 3, which means 6 mils will be taken per day. Are we together? Volume used per day is what? 2 mils times 3 equals to what? 6 mils. Now, for 4 times means 4/7 means 4 days. So the total volume used is what? 4 days times 6 mil is equals to what? 20 mil will be used in what? In 4 days. The pharmacist will need to dispense 24 mil to cover the 4 days in a week. Are we clear on that? I think this one is a bit straightforward. So we'll end here for today's class. When we'll come up with another class, we'll try to throw more light and put more clarity into any area that is grey. If you have any question, you can ask now, or you drop it on the platform and it will be attended to later. But if you have any issue of concern, probably within a minute or two, you can raise it. Let's look at it.